Previously on Higurashi When They Cry console arcs.
レナ、お社様の言う通りにしたんだよ。リナさんのこと嫌いだったし、お父さんの再婚は大反対だったけど、お社様が嫌いになっちゃいけない、逃げちゃいけないって言うから、我慢しようって決めたんだよ。それで幸せになれるって信じてたんだよ。レナ、ケイチ君にもいっぱいひどいこと言ったんだよ。信じちゃいけないから。ケイチ君の言うこと信じたら、またリナさんのこと嫌いになって、結婚を反対したくなるから。だから、傷つけることたくさん言って。ごめんね、ごめんね。きっと許してくれないけど、もう言わないでって。なのに。
何かやばかったり、疑いそうになったり、辛いことがあったりした時はな。
It was so simple.
仲間に相談するんだよ。
そうだよね。そうだよね。
Rena cried in my arms for a while. She cried about the wrong choice she made at the very beginning. The choice couldn't have been hard to see. I'm sure it was something that was within her grasp. How stupid was it to worry about it by herself? She had friends. She had friends whom she trusted. Why did she think she couldn't talk to her friends about it?
思い出して欲しかったの。
Hanyu?
かつてに得たかけがえのない仲間たちへの信頼を頼りたいと思うことを誰も迷惑には感じたりしない。それに気づいて欲しかった。でなければきっと後悔するから。
これは
見ての通り、モデルガンの弾だよ。
Toy guns from when you went on your rampages as a young boy, I assume. Keiichi had a lonely, bitter smile on his face as he said that.
ちょっとだけ真面目な話をしたいんだ。聞いてくれる？
僕はさっきまで真面目な話をしていたつもりなのですよ。
ごめん、間違えた。とにかく聞いてほしいんだ。いいかな？
I silently nodded to him. Then Keiichi began to speak slowly, like every single word squeezed at him.
でもリカちゃんはそれを全て分かった上で俺を許すと言ってくれた。だから傷つけた相手に謝りに行く勇気を持つことができたんだ。
ケイイチ、まさか。
It can't be. It's impossible. It must be coincidence. No, that can't be it. I'm certain I said that to Keiichi in a previous world. I want to believe it. I can't believe it. I want to believe it. I can't believe it. But I want to believe. Has there ever been a miracle like this before? Keiichi of that world, passed on those memories, and he has them now? So it would seem.
ケイイチ。
Keiichi, I think she's gonna need a hug in a good minute or two.
ありがとうな、リカちゃん。そしてごめん、思い出すのが遅くなって。レナのあの姿を見るまでずっと忘れていた。
I couldn't speak. My throat was painfully clogged, and I couldn't control it. Is this a miracle? No way. Keiichi actually remembers what I told him back then?
あの時のお礼、今こそここでさせてもらえないかな。前は手伝えることがあればなんて言ったけど、今は違う。力になりたいんだ。自分が大嫌いだった俺を救い出してくれたリカちゃんが幸せになる方法を一緒に探させてくれないか。
ケイチ、はいなのです。ケイチがいてくれるととても心強いのです。僕はこの世界で一人で戦わなくてはいけないと思ってずっと辛かったから。
リカちゃんは一人じゃない。ミオンもレナもサトコもシオンもみんな仲間だ。だから時期が来たら全てを話してみんなを巻き込んで戦おう。きっと打ち破れる。運命なんて金魚すくいの網と同じだからさ。
大切なことを気づかせてくれて、もうちょっとだけ早くあなたと会いたかったのですよ。
Once the door closed, the room suddenly fell quiet, and I couldn't help hearing the sound of Mion breathing in her sleep. Her chest was faintly moving up and down. Staring at the memories, are we, boy? I suddenly started feeling awkward and stood up, then walked over to the window. The dazzling summer sun was pouring down, and the green hue of the trees was shining. I could see the other students out in the schoolyard, heading home after finishing club activities. Their lively cheers and shouts transmitted their warm enthusiasm to me.
運命か。
I suddenly remembered what Rika-chan told me about the worst possible future and the true identity of our enemy. To be completely honest, I still can't be sure it's going to happen until I see it with my own two eyes. And why is Rika-chan repeating this same time period over and over, with all kinds of memories? And even though I do remember bits and pieces of my past memories, I still don't understand why. According to Rika-chan, I still haven't recovered my memories of the previous world, where we learned the identity of our enemy. So, even though she told me the enemy is that nurse, Takano-san, nothing has come back to me. But there's an organization called Tokyo, connected to the Irie Institute, and some endemic disease called Hinamizawa syndrome. Given how serious and sincere Rika-chan was when she told me that, I think I can trust her word. And thanks to her, we were able to prevent the misfortune that might have befallen Sadako and Reina. That alone was enough to make me thankful that Rika-chan shared her secret with us. But it's not over yet. It's just like Rika-chan said last night. The real battle hasn't even begun.
でも本当に俺たちは勝てるんだろうか。
And so it continues. Greetings, my name's Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of the Higurashi and Cry console arcs. So, if memory serves, we're here to help Mion do a little bit of college prep studying. So, Keiichi, better get your nerd glasses on, because we're going to be sticking our noses into some textbooks for a little while. We'll just ignore the looming threat that is Takano and Tokyo for now. I'm sure they'd be willing to wait here. Because I mean, they'd understand, right? That, you know, college prep work and all that is a real important thing here, worth putting the fate of the world on temporary hold for. Because an education is very important, don't you know? Again, I'm sure they'd understand. They're not gonna just try. Nobody's gonna try to do anything silly when we're trying to educate ourselves. Whether it be Yeah, I'm just gonna shop now. I arrived at the Okinomiya library 30 minutes before our scheduled meeting time. Anyway, there's nice weather today, just as I hoped for. Well, it doesn't really matter whether it's rainy or sunny if we're going to be indoors, but it does affect the mood. Early morning summer sun and a clear sky felt lovely. The air felt nice and clean as I breathed it in while parking my bike at the bike rack and making my way to the main entrance. I got here earlier than expected. Yeah, you just said that. And of course, Mion wasn't here yet. Thinking that, I headed to the entrance intending to buy myself a can of juice. But just then... Well, looks like she's here early too.
Kei-chan.
I completely overlooked her because she didn't stand out much. Well, I mean, her green hair probably helps her blend in with all the green shrubs nearby. Natural camouflage. I completely overlooked her because she didn't stand out much, but Mion was standing at the corner by the main entrance.
Ohayo.
Oh,
Hello, future childbearer.
ずいぶん早かったな。
時間間違えちゃってさ。
Mion awkwardly laughed and looked embarrassed as she said that. Did she really make a mistake with a watch right there on her wrist? I kinda wanted to ask. Nah, she just wanted to catch us as soon as possible. Mion was dressed in her usual clothes, with her usual hairstyle. I asked Reina to indirectly suggest she come dressed in everyday clothes, so she must have listened to Reina. Well, I did kind of want to see Mion dressed up in a fashionable outfit, but I felt she'd get more awkward if she got too fired up, so I saved the fun for next time. Nonetheless, her lips had slightly more rouge tint to them than their usual pink, which looked cuter than normal. Pretty your lips up, did ya? I'm sure that's a recent line of lipstick. Thanks to that, I recalled a nightmare I witnessed at our previous club activity. No, let's forget about that. I'd rather not forget about these things. They're our most precious memories.
今日のミオン、なんか女の子っぽいな。
そんなことないよ。いつもと同じだって。
I was actually expecting a retort of, I'm always a girl. Something about Mion today made her seem especially high spirits.
ちゃんと持ってきたか？参考書と問題集。
もちろん。忘れるわけないよ。
Deep in my heart, I felt relieved. Seems we've avoided the worst case scenario. I recall her asking yesterday, Kei-chan, what do you want to eat tomorrow? She was in a complete panic, so I couldn't help asking her what on earth are we going to do to determine the most basic of basics in our situation. I still can't deny the possibility that she grabbed the strategy guide for some game by mistake and brought that with.
じゃあ行こうか。
Mion's face was burning red as she gave me a big nod, then awkwardly walked beside me. Hey Mion, your arms and legs are moving at the same time. As soon as we stepped through the automatic doors, we were immediately bathed in the cool, carefully regulated air conditioning. It felt chilly and refreshing, but she did seem a little too cold considering we haven't reached the heat of the day. When Mion and I entered the study area, I checked the seats farthest from the air conditioner. It's easy to start feeling sick when you're too cold, and that'll prevent you from staying focused. I learned that from my cram school teacher a long time ago.
あっちの席が空いてるな。
I looked at the space in the corner of the room and found a spot that looked perfect. There was a table for four facing toward the window that wasn't in direct sunlight. This is a self-study room, but aren't a lot of people here using it like there were back in the city. So Mion and I decided to sit across from each other at the table so we could sit face to face. Uh-oh. Who slammed the thing? You slammed the thing! Apologize to the thing, Mion.
大丈夫か？
大丈夫。全然。
You may be fine, but what about the thing?
ああ。
Mion must have banged her knee into the table. Okay, so the thing is the table. Mion must have banged her knee into the table as she tried to sit down. She's still moving pretty awkwardly. Nobody gives a shit about Table-kun, except me. Motherfuckers. Anyway, it was a surprisingly narrow table considering it had 4 chairs. Hey now! No need to skinny shame the table now. It's trying its best, but it can't keep the food down. If the two of us each laid out a reference book, a notebook, and a dictionary, it'd take up the entire table.
結構テーブル狭いな。
Well, it's not as small as your brain.
そうだね。
辞書一つしまって2人で使うか？
Oh, how romantic.
うん。
When our eyes met, Mion suddenly got startled and jumped. Sitting face to face at a table this small, it's only natural for us to look closely at one another's faces. Then Mion's peculiar behavior told me she still wasn't mentally prepared for this.
そうだね。かなり狭いから辞書一つの方がいいかもね。
Her words weren't coming together at all. Was this atmosphere gradually getting more and more awkward?
あ。
When Mion went to close the dictionary, she inadvertently knocked the eraser next to it off the table. Poor Eraser-kun. First Table-kun and now Eraser-kun. This woman's out of control! Somebody call the police! She scrambled to pick it up off the floor, but... her shoulder bumped against the leg of the table as she got up. And she's going after Table-kun again! Seriously! Call Child Protective Services! Causing her mechanical pencil to fall off on the other side. Then she bent down to pick up her pencil, but... Okay, in all due seriousness, Mion, maybe you should just hold still and let Keiichi fetch things for you. Because you seem very uncoordinated right now. Her head bumped against the corner of the table when she moved her body back, and the shake caused the reference book to fall to the other side.
なあ、ミオン。
何？ケイちゃん。
I picked up the reference book and handed it to Mion, who was clutching the back of her head with tears in her eyes. Then I spoke up.
とりあえず落ち着け。深呼吸しろ。
ごめん。
Don't say sorry to him. Say sorry to Table-kun and Eraser-kun. Just as Mion began trying to apologize, I firmly grabbed her hand and pulled her close. Then I laughed with a big smile on my face to try and reassure her. Attaboy.
ケイちゃん。
悪いことしていないんだから謝んなくてもいいって。俺たち仲間だろ。
For now.
うん。
緊張して頭の中混乱状態なのはわかるけど、落ち着けって。俺は前原圭一で、お前は園崎美音。
Until she then becomes Mion Maebara.
周りに誰がいてもいなくても、それだけは同じだろ。レナを助けてくれと、 電話で頼んだあの時のこと。
Although
もう
thinking
一度思い出してくれ。
about it now, I could easily picture a scenario where the rest of the Sonozaki family demand that he take her surname instead, in order to preserve the Sonozaki name. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, to be honest. But this is where you guys stand up to them, Keiichi. When Reina was feeling depressed about her father's situation, the first thing I thought of was Mion. I was certain that she'd be able to do something to help. If it was just Rika-chan and I trying to comfort her when she was crying, we probably wouldn't have gotten through to her. But I was humbled to learn that Reina was able to bounce back immediately after that. And it was all thanks to Mion.
そうだね。
At last, Mion seemed to be loosening up. She wiped her forehead with her handkerchief and took a deep breath. And then, after whispering something to herself, she raised her head and smiled.
なんかどっと疲れちゃったな。よくよく考えてみたら、ケイちゃんと二人で外出することなんてなかったでしょ。あんなに毎日みんなで盛り上がってるのにね。だから変にエキサイトしちゃったよ。
Yeah, I could tell.
だからってエキサイトしすぎだろそれ。まあそういやそうだよな。
I've gone out to the garbage mountain with Reina before, just the two of us. But of course I wasn't about to mention that. Well, you could probably find another nearby mountain for just the two of you to go climbing in.
なんかいろいろと考えすぎちゃってさ。私ほら、話をする男子って年下か親父ばっかりだったでしょ。だからケイちゃんと差しの時はどう話したらいいのかなってね。
Why not just like how you always do?
差しってなんだそりゃ。それに念のために言っておくが、俺も一応年下だ。
Wait, really? You're actually younger than she is? This feels like something I should have known a long time ago, and yet this is somehow new information to me. Or maybe I'm just forgetting some stuff from way back earlier in the main story. That's also a distinct possibility. So, Keiichi, you're into older girls, huh?
あ、いや、まあ、そうなんだけど、なんていうか、意識しちゃったらどうもレナたちとは調子が違ってきてさ。
意識？
うん。
What's up with this? Mion's eyebrows are pointed like the hands of a clock at 150?
はあ、そうだよね。ケイちゃんなんだから、今まで通りで問題ないか。
Meanwhile, you, being the head of the Sonozaki family, have got a never-ending list of problems, I'm sure. Mion looked surprised, then nodded as she convinced herself of something. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but for now, Mion's tone seemed to be back to normal. So I guess that's okay.
よし。じゃあ勉強始めるか。
オッケー。
Anyway, Mion and I began studying. 30 minutes later.
あ、ケイちゃん、この役で合ってるかな。
That is one of the cutest freaking mechanical pencils I think I've seen in eons. It's a fucking penguin. It's a penguin pencil! Well, I know a certain other lady who would probably get a kick out of something like this.
どこだ？どれどれ？
Although, Mion is a grade above me, so I wonder if I'll be able to understand the question. Of that. Yeah, of course, because, I mean, he's still gonna be in school, and she's graduating, so that should have been my clue right there! From, like, several episodes ago, as recently as several episodes ago. God, I'm an idiot. Thinking that, I looked at the problem Mion was pointing to. Huh? Wait. This? She really thinks the answer to this question is this? What? What's the question?
どうしたのケイちゃん。ちょっと難しい
Well, going by that frowny face on your face, I would say it's a little too tough for you.
お前は
I was really shocked to learn that Mion didn't understand this question. What's the question? It's pretty much... No, it really is the most basic of basics on the entrance exam. They literally call these first step questions. So what is it? Maybe I can answer it. I want to see how my IQ level fares compared to Mion's. Just how far back is she? No, for the honor of the Sonozaki family's heiress, anyone who studied for entrance exam would probably be enraged to hear that she was only at this level in her studies. I bet Uryu doesn't really care.
念のために聞く。英語の文法の SVOC これは何だ
SVOC? In the context of English grammar. Well, Mion, I'm clearly just as stumped on this as you are, so I guess someone would be pretty freaking enraged about my lack of knowledge too, if I was the child of Japanese family, I'm sure. I'd be bringing great shame to somebody right now.
ブランデー
Well, I'm not too knowledgeable about brandy, so I mean, I don't know. It could be an abbreviation for that, for all I know.
そりゃ VSOP だ
Okay, so wait, how do you know that, Keiichi? Incidentally, the answer is subject, verb, object, complement. And VSOP is a way of measuring the age of brandy. So of course, there's no relationship between the two of them. None at all. I learned 2 new things today. They cover this stuff in mandatory education, don't they? Well, clearly it wasn't mandatory in my education, Keiichi, so that's my excuse. I don't know what Mion's excuse is, though.
ミオンちょっとノート見るぞ
I decided to grab Mion's notes to see how she answered the other parts. And just as expected, no, even more than expected. Oh, so she's exceeding expectations! It was full of wrong answers. Wrong, 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 and this is wrong too. That part's not even spelled in proper English. Is that Romanji? Hey? Maybe. Never mind. It was horrifying to think that Mion made it this far. She probably just got to this point just by sheer nepotism, let's be fair here. The Sonozaki family probably pulled a shit ton of strings in order to make sure that she kept getting kicked up the educational ladder, regardless of whether she was actually fit to do so or not. It's kind of like the American education system in that respect. Very similar.
ミオン
何
こりゃ相当だぜ
相当有望
Not so much extremely promising, but rather extremely sad and pathetic. Tragic, even.
むしろ無謀だ
Well, I guess reckless is probably also a thing too. Yeah, sure, okay.
お前、一体今まで何勉強してたんだ?
Game theory, of course, because how else would she keep coming up with all these different games you guys played at the club?
いやー、おじさん実学重視がモットーだったからさ。
Well, in a lot of ways, I do agree with you, but it's not always applicable to every situation in life. You gotta have a little bit of book smarts too, in order to help balance out that practical knowledge. I speak from experience. I heard that before. Anyway, this is terrible. Really terrible. Well, that penguin mechanical pencil isn't terrible, at least.
お前、よくこれで今まで進学できたよな。
As a map.
そんなこと言ってやる気下げないでよ、ケイちゃん。
Now, like I was saying before, if she were in an American education system, she'd be able to move along just fine.
受験生に向かって。
No doubt about it. After seeing how much hell the kids in the city are going through, I can confidently say that's the case.
大体ね、うちの学校は世界の国の人が言えたら合格できるレベルなんだよ。
Well, that's definitely something I can say for sure that my education curriculum never really required me to really know. So I guess there's that, I suppose.
ケイちゃんのレベルと一緒にしないでよ。
どこぞの不良コミックかよ。ちなみにブラジルの首都は？
I can't.
ジュネーブ。
Geneva as in Geneva Convention? Totally wrong. Is she really thinking seriously about her future?
とりあえず受験レベルまで引き上げるんだよな。
気合い入れて頑張るよ。
かなり、いや、ものすっごく頑張らないとな。
任せといて。こう見えても私本番に強いし大丈夫さね。
Okay then. Pop quiz time. There's your pressure. Now perform. All right. All right, she says.
大丈夫なわけあるか、このクソたわけ。この学力で合格できるなら世の中の志願者数は合格者数を超えたりせんわ。
You're making it so goddamn easy for me to keep disparaging my country's education system, Keiichi.
大体なんだ気合って。気合だけで何でも解決できると思ったら大間違いだぞ。いくら運命が人の意志の結晶とリカちゃんが言っても、今の学力で受験を乗り切れるのなら人はうなぎで空を飛べるわ。
Now, Keiichi, be careful what you say here. I know that you're frustrated right now with your wife to be and her lack of proper education. Not that I have room to talk on some of the stuff we've talked about so far, but still, my conscience and reasoning barely managed to suppress the words that desperately wanted to come bursting from my throat. If I say it, she'll cry. Even if it's Mion I'm talking to, she'll cry. I'm certain of it. She looks like she's tearing up to me. Of course, that was a terrible thing to say to Mion right after she just told me how motivated she was. But, even if it's a terrible thing to say, isn't it even more cruel to hide the truth from her? Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, so as painful as this is, Keiichi, you must break her heart in order to help save her future. To help motivate her! Up until now, I didn't know much about Mion's scholastic abilities. She was the one who suddenly told me she needed to study, so I wasn't expecting this. It was beyond my imagination, and I kind of regret offering to tutor her so casually. Come on. You're practically a genius in your own right, Keiichi. I'm sure you got this.
それにしても
Well, let me put it to you this way, Keiichi. If you can't help your wife to be with her homework, you sure as hell can't help your wife to help to raise a child. On the other hand, that raises another mystery. Based on her current academic abilities, I can assume that Mion has never studied before. But the truth is, academic ability may not be very important in her role as successor to the Sonozaki family. In which case, why did Mion suddenly start studying for entrance exams?
あのさ、ミオン。
大丈夫。頑張るから。今はこんな感じだけど、すぐに追いつくって。本当に。
いや、そうじゃなくて。なんで急に受験勉強始めようなんて思ったんだ？
いや、それは。
Mion's face turned red. Come on, not again. I hardly consider her question about why she began studying for the exams to be a reason to start blushing, but...
なんだよ。そんなに変な質問か？
いや。
ミオン？
ね。
It was a simple question about her motivation for studying, and yet Mion had a hard time saying it. It was clearly unusual, so if I gave her a vague, no particular reason answer, if she gave me no particular reason answer, I wouldn't be convinced.
まあ、別に言いたくないなら言わなくてもいいけどさ、仲間としてもどんな理由なのか聞いておきたいしな。
じゃあ、言おうかな。
お、行ってみ。
一緒の学校に行きたいなと思ってね。
That's actually kind of adorable. Not gonna lie.
一緒の学校、誰と？
With you, you dumbass!
だから、ケイちゃんと。
Huh? She started studying for entrance exams because she wanted to go to the same school as me? That answer was so far outside my expectations that it left me speechless. Or maybe I should say I was caught off guard by the explosion of moe cuteness in her answer. Compared to the usual Mion. No, this is beyond words. Still, if she did that deliberately, then she really got the better of me. But in the rare chance that she meant that sincerely,
一緒って言っても、お前俺より1学年上だろ？
だから1年くらいかければ追いつけるかなって。
Well, given how apparently lacking her education actually is, according to you, it could probably work out to where by the time she would be eligible to go into college, it would be time for you to start studying too. So I mean, hey, you could both enter at the same time, despite the 1 year age gap. Everybody wins. Based on how she was now, though, it was hard to imagine her catching up in just a year. But no, it doesn't matter. It's risky, totally suicidal. I could tell that even my face was turning red. Even if she had been completely frank with me, would I have been this embarrassed the whole time? Calm down. At least for now, you have to calm down.
まあ、なんだ？俺もミオンが一緒だったら、 楽しいかな。
かな？
Change the word might to will, you dummy.
いや、楽しいと思うぞ、きっと。
Yeah, I'll take certain, whatever. My voice had suddenly cracked, and I was desperately trying to string together the words. Come on, I need to stay calm. Anyway, even if her goal is to get into the same school, that doesn't mean she has to work really hard studying for exams.
このまま行けばケイちゃん、大学はきっと東京でしょ？そうなったら今の私の学力じゃ絶対無理だし、だから。
そうか。それじゃあミオン、お前。
そう、私も東京にって。
Once again, she said something completely unexpected. I never imagined Mion leaving the village.
けど、その崎家は？
大学くらいは許してもらうつもりだよ。そりゃ、その崎家じゃきっと一波乱あるだろうけどさ。
Well, yeah, probably so. Even if it's only temporary, it's a major issue for the future head of Sonozaki family to leave Hinamizawa.
でもミオンってそんなに東京志向あったっけ？
いや、ちょっと前まで全然。でも、ケイちゃんと一緒の学校にって思うようになったらさ、初めて園崎から離れた自分を考えるようになったんだ。
Oh, look at you, Keiichi. You're inspiring an independent streak in her. Careful now. You might have a tyrant in the making. Mion smiled as she said that.
確かに、私はこのHinamizawaの代表、園崎家の次期当主だよ。だから、この村で生まれて、育って、結婚して、子供作って死ぬまでここを離れられない。子供の頃からそう教えられてきたし、この村の私が、私のすべて。毎日楽しいことを探して、みんなで騒いで、幸せに過ごす。それ以外は、あまり考えたことなかった。
うん。
でもさ、ちょっと考えてみた。私たちの村も、どんどん変わってきている。古くからここで住んでいる人たちの他に、ケイちゃんたちのような新しい家族を受け入れたりして、古き良きなんとかなんて言ってられなくなった。だから、視野を広めておきたいんだ。ケイちゃんと一緒がいいのはもちろん本心だけど、これは私の将来にとってもとても大事なことだと思うんだ。
Then she lightly tilted her head to ask me something.
ねえ、ケイちゃん。大学行って、やっぱ東京かな。
さあ、まだそこまでは。でも、それもいいかなと思ってる。
I was actually quite surprised how naturally I answered that. After coming to Hinamizawa, I wanted to completely forget about my city life and Tokyo. I wanted to deny their very existence. Nevertheless, the reason I began thinking about all that was because that engagement party fiasco. I had plenty of great conversations with a lot of adults, especially Mion's relatives. The people of the Sonozaki family engage in such a wide variety of activities. There were congressmen and lawyers, and even the president of a restaurant and a manufacturer of name-brand goods. And even though they're active both inside and outside the village, the one thing they all have in common is that they consider Hinamizawa dear to them. Everyone is giving it their all to make this village a better place. To that end, they're cultivating their personal connections, knowledge, and experience, then using those weapons to fight all out. The damn opposition movement probably would have been outright dismissed as some small local demonstration activity if these people hadn't taken such effective measures to work within the law. To put it another way, it It was no exaggeration to say that these were the absolute best people to protect this village. You need a weapon in order to fight. You need power in order to protect others. Obviously, increasing responsibility comes with increasing obligation, so it's necessary to face these challenges head-on to overcome those barriers. What would I do in that position? I felt like it was more than just some puzzle game, so if I was conscious of that, I'd be studying every day. But back in the old days, I used to study without any sort of meaning behind it. I was happy just being praised by my parents for getting good grades, but I quickly grew bored of that. Oops. But what I did only gave me a tiny bit of self-satisfaction. And yet, if the things I learned were deeply tied to making other people happy, that would be such a wonderful thing. And when I thought about it like that, I felt rather attached to the idea.
ケイちゃん
Mion had a gentle look on her face as she continued listening to my story. Unlike usual, she made no attempt to interrupt and tease me.
でも俺は
I cut myself off there, then continued like I remembered something.
最後はHinamizawaには戻ってくるつもりだ。ここは俺が俺らしさを取り戻してくれた場所だからさ。恩返ししないと罰が当たる。
違いないね。
Mion seemed pleased and responded with a big smile. Then,
やっぱりケイちゃんだよ。
え？
ケイちゃんで私本当に良かったなーって。ありがとね。
the atmosphere filled with a warmth I'd never felt between me and Mion before. The two of us going to college in Tokyo together, and then coming back to Hinamizawa together. It was a vastly expanding dream. It seemed like we were plotting a course toward an endlessly bright future, and I felt content.
あれケイちゃん
You just had to show up and ruin the mood, huh, Shion?
おねえ
Just then, an unexpected voice calling out from behind us dispersed that warm atmosphere like mist.
あれシオン
When I looked back, I found Shion standing there. And right beside her was...
あらあらこんにちは
What the hell? What are you doing here?
ケイチ君にミオンちゃん
どうも
I tried my best to calm myself and respond to their greetings. The people addressing us were Shion and Takano-san. This woman is our enemy? I was trembling from a chill as if all the blood in my body had frozen over, and I tried to brace myself. Even though the air conditioning was running full blast, cold sweat came overflowing down my back. It's no good. Don't do anything suspicious now. I don't know anything at this point. Just that this woman is a nurse at the Irie clinic. I struggled to hold back my hoarse breathing and suppress my throbbing heartbeat while forcing a smile. Not sure if it worked, but Takano-san smiled at Mion and I and then spoke up.
今日はデートかしら
あいやその
Hearing the word date, Mion got restless. And Takano seemed to think the reason for my jerky movements was that I was just nervous. Great. When Shion saw me like that, she grinned and looked like she was getting ready to make fun of me.
何ですかケイちゃん。図書館でデートなんて色気がないですね。
I don't know, I think there's plenty of people out there that find bookworms and nerds to be sexy.
いいじゃねえか 図書館は涼しくて静かで快適気分で楽しいぞ。
おまけにタダですし。意外にせこいですね、ケイちゃんも。
Hey, free is the cheapest price you can get.
こういう時は使ったお金の額で愛情が伺い知れるってものですよ。
No. Did you hear that from some office lady? Either that or someone that's trying to sell you on buying the biggest diamond. Plus, there's only so much money you can spend as an unemployed student. Okay, I'm mostly back to normal now.
それじゃあ私はこれで。
あ、はい。ありがとうございました。
お二人も楽しくね。
Takano-san handed Shion some files, then flashed me and Mion a suggestive smile before turning and heading out. Was she trying to make fun of me? What's the deal with that smile? What I want to know is what files is she handing Shion right now? Anyway, that's an unexpected combination. Shion and Takano-san. How on earth were the two of them connected? Oh no. Oh no. Is this just like what happened with Chapter 2 and 5, where some information that Takano ends up sharing with Shion ends up fueling her paranoia with the Sonozaki family and by extension the rest of the village? Do we gotta deal with a potentially murder? Do we gotta deal with this shit now on top of everything else? And what were those files Takano-san gave Shion? I had a bad feeling. But was it just because I was feeling overly cautious about her? No, you're not the only one having a bad feeling here.
なあ、シオン。それ。
I pointed to the files in Shion's hands.
ああ、これですか？高野さんがHinamizawaについての話をまとめたものです。例えば、鬼隠しとか、この村の伝説とか、いろいろね。
Yeah, so it is the same files.
鬼隠しって、綿流しのあれか？
へえ、ケイちゃん詳しいですね。綿流しの晩に毎年起こっているたたりについて高野さんが調べたそうですよ。ケイちゃん興味ありますか？
いや、まあ興味っていうか、それ。
ちょっとケイちゃん。
The moment Mion heard that, she rushed to cut off Shion's conversation. I nearly fell over after suddenly being struck by her threatening attitude.
どうしたミオン？
いや、そんなことより今日はここに勉強しに来たんだからね。ちゃんと責任持って教えてよ。
ああ、いや、少しだけだからさ。それでシオン、そのファイルに何が書いてあるんだ？
いえ、今もらったばかりで。よかったら一緒に見ます？ケイちゃんってば。
Mion grabbed my arm. Her eyes were slanted and she looked pretty angry. Right, we're studying today, just the two of us. No, it's a studying date. So anyone ignored in this situation would get upset. Oh yeah, looks like Takano decided to interrupt our little education date after all. I guess this is not one of these situations where the fate of the world and all that will put itself on pause for my education's sake. How unfortunate. Can't be helped. I was concerned about Takano-san's notebook, but I decided to give up on discussing it with Shion.
ごめん、悪かったな、ミオン。
うん。じゃあこれ。
シオンも引き止めて悪かったな。そういうわけだから俺たちは勉強続けるよ。
ふん、相変わらずなんですね、おね。
Shion's laugh seemed like it was lightly teasing Mion, but Mion responded by glaring at her with a disgruntled expression.
何がよ。大好きなケイちゃんには このひなみざわの闇の部分を聞かせたくないってことですか。いや、ご立派というかなんというか。シオン、あんたね。あれ、気に障りました？次期当主ともあろうお方が動揺丸出しですよ。
Oh. Mion kicked her chair over while abruptly rising to her feet, and then glared at Shion, making no effort to hide her anger. Unswayed by Mion's momentum, Shion glared back at her.
あんた、まだ疑ってるの？いい加減にしないと私、どうなっても知らないよ。どう？それは警告ですか？次期当主様。ひょっとして、今年の綿流しでたたりに会うのは私ってことで？バカなこと言ってんじゃないよ。誰に吹き込まれたか知らないけど、なんでそんなデタラメを。デタラメだったら言ってくださいよ、本当のことを。私は本当のことが知りたいだけなんです。そのために動いて何が悪い。だからそれは。
The force of that question seemed to suddenly make Mion falter. Shion's overwhelming anger had turned the situation around. Now she was the one venting her rage at Mion, moving her face any closer.
ああ、お姉はいつもそうですよね。当主当主という割に周りの顔色を伺って当たり障りなくのらりくらりと。でも私は違うんです。サトシ君のことを誰も話したがらないならそれでもいい。だったら勝手に調べるだけだから。あんたの力なんて期待してない。だから邪魔だけはするな。いい加減にしろ、この大バカ野郎。
ミオン
When I saw Mion raise her fist, I finally started feeling overwhelmed and grabbed her from behind. Then she turned toward me and peered back at Shion over her shoulder.
引き止めちまって悪かったな、シオン。鬼隠しの話、今度機会があったら聞かせてくれ。
二人で勝手に勉強でも何でも楽しくやってなさいな、お子ちゃまカップルが。
After that unpleasant remark, Shion walked away. Well, I think we pretty much, she just flat out confirmed what my worst fears were in this situation. Oh boy. So I guess now we got to avert Shion going off the deep end, potentially going off the deep end. Again. Within the same arc, no less. This story arc is just throwing everything back at us all at once, it feels like. From the main story, I mean. After that unpleasant remark, Shion walked away. Then after seeing her off, I noticed Mion getting back in her seat.
ミオンも悪かったな。ごめん。
いいよ、ケイちゃんが謝ることじゃない。
The awkward silence continued. Hoping to break through it, I decided to ask what they were even arguing about in the first place.
なあ、ミオン。さっきシオンの言ってたサトシのことって何のことだ？
何、ケイちゃん、知りたいの？
Mion immediately grimaced. Still, it wasn't just for the sake of curiosity. I wanted to hear a proper explanation to confirm what I heard from Rika-chan.
ミオンは当然知ってるんだろ？鬼隠しのこと。
まあ。
She was speaking unusually evasively. Most likely for the reason I heard from Akane-san earlier.
あ、別に問い詰めているんじゃないぞ。言いたくないなら無理には聞かないしさ。
楽しい話じゃないよ。
Mion anxiously turned her gaze downward and slyly raised her head back up. I realized that she was trying to avoid telling these bad stories out of concern for me. That's why I smiled and tried to reassure her.
楽しくなくても物騒でも何でもいいさ。それにこれを聞いたからってHinamizawaとミオンたちのことを嫌ったりはしない。茜さん、ミオンのお母さんとの約束だしな。
お母さんが？それじゃケイちゃん。
After nodding to her, I went on to tell her the things I heard from Akane-san the other night. About Hinamizawa, and about Mion and everyone else. Of course, Mion frowned at first, learning that I already knew about the things she wanted to keep hidden from me. But when I told her that my feelings remained unchanged, and I trusted her all the same after hearing these stories, she had a relieved bitter smile on her face, and seemed convinced. Then,
わかった。それじゃあ、私の知ってることだけ。
with that preface, Mion began to slowly open her mouth. It was a tale about the repeating curse in Hinamizawa. Although, most of the content was the same as what I already heard from Akane-san and Rika-chan. One person died and one went missing on the day of the festival every year for the past 4 years. And the people of Hinamizawa secretly attribute it to the curse of the village's guardian deity, Orishiro-sama. But being demoned away is sort of like being spirited away. It's when someone vanishes due to Orishiro-sama's curse. But hearing it directly from a major village figure like Mion gave me a clearer understanding of the state of awe the villagers were in. And so, the files that Takano-san gave Shion must have contained all kinds of research into the demoning away phenomenon. It was surprising enough that Takano was investigating such a thing, but I was even more surprised to learn that Shion was that fixated on the idea of people being demoned away.
なんでシオンはあんなに必死になって調べてるんだ？
サトコにはお兄さんがいてさ、サトシとシオン仲良かったから。
サトシ？
シオンってサトシのこと好きだったんだよね。
去年聡子のおばが殺され、兄がいなくなりました。
Indeed, I had heard as much from Rika-chan earlier. I see. So, Shion liked Satoshi. That must be why she cares so much about his sister, Sadako.
でもね、サトシがいなくなっちゃったの。去年の綿流しのお祭りの日に。
それが鬼隠し。
Mion nodded. I understand. So, Shion is investigating the demoning away phenomenon because she wants to find Satoshi's whereabouts.
正直無茶なことしてるって思ってるよ。シオンは鬼隠しは園崎家の仕業なんじゃないかって疑ってるみたいでね。園崎のことあれこれ調べ回ったりしてさ、いっぱい協力したのにこっちの気も知らないで。
けどそれって普通じゃないか？
え？
Mion seemed surprised and raised her head to look up at me. Still, I wasn't trying to take Shion's side here. I was just trying to express how I felt.
もしもさ、もしもミオンが鬼隠しにあっていなくなったら、俺もきっとシオンと同じことをしてると思うな。ミオンだってそうじゃないのか？
そりゃ私だってもちろんできることすべてやってケイちゃんのこと探し回って、そして
Suddenly, Mion stared at me, then drooped her head while biting at her lip. And then, as though she was remembering something, she muttered something at me in an inaudible whisper, and turned pale as she held her head.
シオン、あんたには罪がある。あんたは今までミオンだった。園崎家の鬼を継ぐミオンという強い立場がありながら、サトシ君を救わなかった、救おうとしなかった。サトシ君を救うための100億の瞬間があったはずなのに、あんたはその全てを見殺しにすることを選んだんだ。私は許さない、お前を許さない。お前が私だったらサトシ君を救えていたのに、お前が私を奪いサトシ君を殺したことを私は絶対に許さない。私はお前を殺すだろう。絶対に殺す。お前を一番残酷に殺す方法が何なのか、今日から毎日考えて過ごしてやる。シオンは私がそれを思いつくまでのわずかな日々を、いつ殺されるのかどう殺されるのかに怯えながら過ごすがいい。簡単には殺さない。むごたらしく殺す。殺した後はサトシ君と同じ井戸に放り投げてやる。そしてサトシ君にあの世で謝ってこい。それが私を語り続けてきたことへの報いだ。報い報い、お前の罪。うわ
The demon form of Mion was simply terrifying. I could only hold my knees and tremble. But now I understand. If I was in the same position as that Mion, what would I think? What would I do?
わかる。わかるよ。今、やっと気づいた。
ミオン？
私、サトシの仲間としてベストを尽くしたつもりだった。でも、シオンはそうじゃなかった。あの子の気持ち、私、ちゃんと理解できていなかった。
It's ironic. You were accusing her of being blind to your feelings, but the truth of the matter is, it was the other way around. I recall the exchange between Mion and Shion. It's true that Shion's reaction was a bit excessive, but thinking about it calmly, I realized what underlying feelings drove her. I think Satoshi had been demoned away, but Shion was still thinking about him, even now. But she can't find him. And the more she feels that deadlock, the more it fills her heart with anger, sadness, and anxiety. That pain expands infinitely, and eventually leads to suspicion and dark emotions.
二人で勝手に勉強でも何でも楽しくやってなさいな、お子ちゃまカップルが。
When you think about it that way, the emotion Shion showed us was beyond measure. Her words were extremely insensitive, even in circumstances that could normally be overlooked. And if you hated feeling that way, if your emotions were running so wild that you could barely even stand, who could blame you for that?
私にはケイちゃんがいる。でもシオンにはサトシがいない。
確かにタイミングが悪かったな。
それだけじゃない。私、シオンの気持ち分かった気になってちっとも分かってなかった。シオンが不愉快になるのも当然だよね。
ミオン、
私、シオンの立場で考えたら全然何もしてあげられなかったんだ。
Mion lowered her head. Her long hair hung down to hide her face.
情けないな。今さらこんな形でやっと気づくなんて。私って本当。
The person before me now was not the future Sonozaki family head or the leader of our club. She was just a lone girl. And above all else, she was an older sister, thinking of her younger sister. And so, I was never feeling lost about how to respond to her.
ごめんなさい、だろ。
え？
だったら謝ればいい。会えない相手じゃないんだし、悪いと思ったらごめんってさ。シオンに謝ればいいじゃないか。
ケイちゃん、でも。
Mion remorsefully turned her gaze downward. And then she spoke like she was muttering to herself.
さっきのあれの後だもん。会ってくれないかもしれない。電話しても出てくれないかもしれない。今までのこと謝っても許してくれないかも。
そうだな。でもそれを確かめるのはミオンだろ。
Right. Nobody else can do it for her. Mion has to do that herself. She'll only reach an answer if she makes the first move.
やってみなきゃわかんないよ。それにそこまで強く思ってるならなりふり構わずぶつけてみろ。ダメだった時は今度は俺がミオンを励ましてやるからさ。
ケイちゃん。
Mion rubbed her nose and wiped away the tears running down her eyes. Then she took a deep breath to calm herself and noticed me.
そうだね。わかった。夜、あの子のマンションに行ってみる。
よし。
ダメだったら電話する。
Just don't go alone, please. Just in case Shion is in a very particularly emotionally fragile state. Otherwise, I worry something might happen to you.
うん。やっぱりダメなことは考えない。
Well, that's fine. I'll consider the notion of failure for you.
絶対うまくいかせるから。応援しててよ。
当たり前だ。ミオンは俺の大切な仲間だからな。
ありがとう、ケイちゃん。
Mion gently held her hand out to me as she said that, and I quietly squeezed it with all my might. Even though it must have hurt a bit, Mion turned to me with a happy face. Give it your best shot, Mion. I'm sure it'll work out. And I hope Shion will make an effort to understand, too. The only thing left for me to do is believe in the two of them. Well, I mean, hey, we can believe in the two of them while also being within 20 feet, hidden in a bush, with a taser ready to fire if need be. Just saying.
さあ、ケイちゃん、遠慮はいりませんよ。
Oh, we're meeting up here, huh?
どんどん食べちゃってください。
ちょっと待て、おい。
To my bewilderment, cakes, parfaits, and other sweet treats were being carried out one after another. And the various colorfully decorated desserts were being sat down on the table in front of me, one by one. Thanks to that, the surrounding area was already rife with a sickly sweet aroma, and that alone was enough to make me feel full. The customers eating and drinking at the other tables looked awestruck as they watched the scene unfold. I mean, I'm overwhelmed enough as it is. I don't need weird people staring at me too.
さあ、どれからいきます？どれもうちのパティシエ自信作ですからね。ちなみに私のおすすめはこれとこれと、あとこれとこれとこれ。
If you're going to make recommendations, limit it to a single item. Hey, she's trying to make money for her biz. Whatever, it's not a big deal.
とにかく説明してくれ。いきなりここに呼び出したらともかく、このケーキの山は一体なんだ？
She's probably trying to get us to OD on sugar.
せっかくですから夕飯をご馳走しようかと。
お前の家じゃ食はパンの代わりにケーキなのか？このマリー・アントワネット！
And just how many calories are in all this? Does she want me to die young from metabolic syndrome? Well, it's not. It's mostly the carbs and sugar you gotta watch out for more than the calories. It was right after I got home from school. Right after Mom and Dad, excuse me, yeah, after Dad, Mom, and Dad. You got two dads, Keiichi. Right after Mom and Dad told me that they had to head to Tokyo for work, when I began checking our stock of instant noodles to figure out what to do for dinner, I received a phone call from Shion. Then she told me she had something to talk about, and invited me to Angelport. And here I am. Are we going to talk about what was in those files Takano gave you?
それがなんでケーキの試食会になったんだ？
いいじゃないですか、ケイちゃん。昨日お姉と楽しんできたんだから、今度は私も楽しませて。ね。
Oh, I see. Trying to sabotage the union before the unions get finalized, huh? Before I have a chance to put a ring on her finger. You must be feeling really spiteful right now. The way she said that had an extremely bewitching sound to it, but what was she thinking?
そんなことよりも
I cleared my throat and decided to move on to the main subject. Otherwise, there's no point in bringing me all the way out here.
昨日どうだったんだ？
すみません。R 入ります。
The smile vanished from Shion's face. Then she signaled to the senior waitress and sat down in the seat across from me. When I looked more closely at the surrounding area, there were no other customers near our table. Was it something Shion was worried about talking around other people? Yesterday, I waited all night with my phone at my bedside, but Mion never called. You better not done anything to Mion, otherwise I'm going to go medieval on your ass, Shion. And the next morning, when I arrived at our usual meeting place, Mion wasn't there. Apparently she was taking a sick day. And what's more, even though Shion would normally show up, she didn't come to school that day. So naturally, we were all getting worried.
さっき聞きました。お姉、今日休んだんですね。
電話しようと思ったんだけどな。その前にお前から電話があったから。
まったく。
What did you do to Mion, Shion? Shion had a bewildered look on her face, so she tried to calm herself by scooping her hair back and taking a sip of juice without bothering to use the straw. And then, a harsh noise rang out as she slammed her glass down on the table, then turned my way and looked at me across the pile of cakes.
結論から言います。
Shion made a pained expression and I leaned down on her elbows. That gesture had an overwhelming atmosphere to it, so I swallowed my spit to prepare myself.
問題。すべて。解決。
What does that mean?
え？
I was caught by surprise and unable to understand what she meant, so I cried out in a stupid voice. When Shion noticed that, she grinned a devilish smile, then burst into non-stop laughter.
だから言ったまんまですよ。心配しまくらせてしてやったりってな感じですが、おあいにくさまってやつです。
Shion let out a strange giggle. In other words, it's safe to assume that Mion and Shion somehow managed to reconcile. Now I'm even more worried.
つうか、それだったらもったいぶらずに昨日のうちに言えよ。シオンもひでえが、ミオンもミオンだ。こっちは結構今の今まで気が気でなかったんだぞ。
そりゃお互い様ってやつでしょ。違いますか？ リカちゃまとあちこち出歩いている浮気者の前原圭一さん。
I vehemently deny your implications! I couldn't say anything to counter Shion's sharp point. I certainly have been spending a lot of time together with Rika-chan. There's no helping that. Still, I can't tell her the reason for that.
ま、その反論はいずれ聞くとして。お姉には私から口止めしたんですよ。もう少しケイちゃんに心配させろってね。
Well, mission accomplished. I'm already worried. So where's Mion?
どういう意味だよ。
卒がなさすぎると男から見れば構わなくても大丈夫って思われるもんですから。
And what would you know about a man's point of view, Shion?
気を引きたかったら他の女のことを考える暇がないくらい、もうちょっとケイちゃんにやきもきさせるくらいでないと。なんてね。てへ。
可愛くない上に激しく誤解ってやつだ、それは。とにかく本題に戻せ。
はいはい。まあお姉と私ってのはちょっと語弊がありますね。正確には私と園崎家ってことにしておいてください。今までだってお姉とは普通に付き合ってきたわけだし、別に私お姉本人を嫌ってなかったんですから。
そうだよな。だけどいつも言い合いしてるのは仲がいいからって勝手に思ってただけに、昨日のあれを見るとちょっと分かんなくなってさ。
もうケイちゃんそんな風に見てたんですか？でも好きの反対は嫌いじゃないですよ。好きじゃなければ無関心になりますから。特に私は。
Shion smiled as she said that. Maybe it was just my imagination, but her smile lacked its usual cynical slant to it. It was a radiant smile, like she had just received a gift. That gift being Mion's head on a platter?
とはいえ、昨日が確かにヤバかったのは本当です。お姉と話す機会がなかったら、絶好状態が当分は続いていたと思いますよ。
それじゃあミオンとは話をしたんだな。
ええ、いろんな話しましたよ。もっとも最初はケイちゃんだから言いますが、私かなりイラついてて聞く気全然なかったんですけどね。
Then Shion told me about yesterday. When I got home, I threw a pillow at the wall in a fit. Poor Wall-kun. I was annoyed by the dull sound it made as it hit and then rolled on the floor, so I rushed over and kicked it into the air. Now Pillow-kun's getting pummeled. Anyway, I really just felt awful. Not as awful as Pillow-kun. And it wasn't just because of Mion. Keiichi was right beside her, but he didn't do anything to call her out for her cowardly behavior. In fact, he chased me away like I was in his way. What's with that attitude, after all we've done to support you? And a first day at the library? You two are so immature. How carefree do you have to be to have that much fun studying together at their age? I'm so pissed off. What good is Mion if she can't do anything when it really matters? It's been a long time since then. I'm trying to put on a good face for everyone, say what I think, but it just can't be done. How miserable. Mion gets paraded around by the Sonzaki family and the people of Hinamizawa. What a hopeless fool. How annoying. Sickening. It's driving me crazy. I'm getting irritated and resentful. It's frustrating. I know. These feelings swirling around in my heart aren't actually directed at Mion and Keiichi. In fact, it's not really fit for anyone. So, I couldn't find a way out. I was starting to feel like I needed to vomit. It was painful, sore, and depressing. It was so hard to endure. I felt an emotion swelling up inside me, and it was envy. Why does Mion get to have such a nice boyfriend? Why does everyone get along so well with Mion? And yet, the boy I like is gone, and I can't get along with anyone. Tears came overflowing, non-stop. I should have been able to endure it. I thought that if I kept it locked in my heart, it would disappear someday. That's not how emotions work, I'm afraid. Bottling it up will only just create a bigger emotion bomb that will go off later. Especially over matters of the heart. But in the end, it's useless. Anytime I see the two of them having fun together, it reminds me that I'll never see myself like that. And it's utterly mortifying. I hate it. But there's no use fighting it.
Satoshi-kun! Satoshi-kun!
Tears spilled down to my bed sheets, leaving stains all over the place. Satoshi-kun, why did you disappear? If you were still around, I'm sure I'd be able to support Mion with all my heart. Even if Keiichi butts in, I might get worked up, but I'd be able to calm myself by teasing them. I want to see you. I want to hear your voice. I want to talk. I want to gaze at your shy, constantly embarrassed face forever and ever. And I want you to praise me for working so hard to keep the promise I made. I've been working hard to take care of Sadako all this time. No need to thank me. After all, I enjoyed spending time with Sadako too. I was able to find a whole lot of great things about that girl that I never knew before. And I think she probably likes me too. And it's actually thanks to me that she's able to eat squash now. Poor Sadako. So, tell me I did a good job. I want you to stroke my head, like you used to. Now that's a bear. Just then, the doorbell rang. When I raised my tear-filled face to look up, the bell rang again like it was chasing me. I looked at the clock. It was already pretty late. Who on earth would come here at this hour?
誰ですか？シオン、私。
Superbrain First Live. What is that? Some kind of pamphlet for for a concert or something?
おね。
I was a bit surprised. It wouldn't be that strange for an acquaintance of mine to come over at this hour. But Mion had never come here this late before. Not to mention, after our argument earlier. Normally, she'd wait a while for us both to cool off and then give me a warm phone call like nothing had happened. That was her usual pattern. I grabbed a tissue from my bedside to wipe away my tears, then stood up. And then I spoke in a deliberately distorted, guttural voice to vent my displeasure.
何ですか、おね。こんな時間に。マナー違反じゃないですか？ごめん。シオンと話したいなって。あいにくですが、私は何も話すことがありませんので。お帰りください。早く帰らないと、ばあさんにきっと怒られますよ。いい。ばっちゃになんて言われても、
そんなこと言われても私が困ります。どうせばあさんのことだから、また私がお姉を足止めしたんじゃないかって考えるでしょうし。そしたら結局、私が悪者じゃないですか。
そうだろうね。だから、ここ開けなくていい。ここから話すから、話聞いてほしいよ。
I let out an exasperated sigh. How stupid and naive can you be, oh glorious family head?
話したければどうぞご勝手に。でも私、シャワー浴びたいんで、それでもよければ好きなだけ喋って帰ってください。
ありがとう、シオン。
From beyond the door, I could hear sobbing mixed in with the sound of her voice. All right, I'll take a shower. Let me grab some clothes and a towel.
私、サトシのために、私のできることをやった。ベストを尽くしたって、今までずっと思ってきた。バッチャとか、園崎の人間にも、いろいろ行き先聞いて回ったし、大石に疑われた時は、サトシが捕まらないようにって、お父さんに頼んで動いてもらった。だから、サトシがいなくなって、どこに行ったのかわからないって知った時は、正直、もうどうしようもないって、自分で勝手に納得させてた。
Yeah, I already know all that. Why are you bothering to say this now? It's totally ridiculous.
シオンとサトシの仲を知った時もそうだった。二人の仲を認めてあげてって。サトシはとてもいい子だよって。バッチャにも園崎のみんなにも一生懸命説得した。でもみんな、うんってなかなか言ってくれなくて。悔しくて、悲しくて。シオンたちにごめんって、いつも思ってた。
What's this? A confession? Does she really think that's all it'll take for me to forgive her?
ごめん。ごめんね。ごめんなさい。
Annoying. Just go home already. Thinking that, I walked over to the door while brushing my hair.
シオンがしてもらいたかったのは、そんなことじゃなかったんだ。
Mion's voice was coming from beyond the door. Her words were tear-soaked and full of so much sobbing that I was having trouble hearing.
私、ケイちゃんのことを好きになって、やっと分かった。もしケイちゃんと私との付き合いをみんなに反対されたら、私、どんなことをしても認めてもらうまで説得してたと思う。一生懸命じゃない。死に物狂いで命だって投げ出して、それでもダメな奴がいたら最後は殺してでも。
What is this lunacy? Same kind of lunacy that fills your head.
いなくなってもそう。村全部引っかき回して、それでもダメだったら隣の町もその隣も探し続ける。日本全国探してもいなかったら外国にだって行って、見たっていう人がいたら 1% でもいいからその可能性にかけて、それでも見つからなかったら周りの人がみんな嘘言ってるんじゃないかって疑って詰め寄って聞きまくって、どんなことしてもケイちゃんに会いたいと思う。もしケイちゃんを殺した奴がいたら、私がこの手で殺してやる。そんな思いを。
さいな。
シオン、あんたはずっと の1年ずっと思ってたんだね。そんなことにも気づかずに私は本当に最低だった。園崎の力、園崎の当時の力、もっと使い方がたくさんあった。
うるさい、うるさい、うるさい、うるさい。
I could no longer keep quiet. I vomited all the dark feelings I had been keeping in check until now and hurled them at my idiot sister on the other side of the door. I've always wanted to keep that locked away forever. He was hot enough to boil, and yet still cold. And those negative thoughts wouldn't stop.
今さら何を言われても、どう言い訳しても何になる。サトシ君はいなくなった。あんたたちのせいでいなくなった。すべて終わって、どうしようもなくなってから謝罪されても、サトシ君は帰ってこないんだ。
ごめん。シオン、本当にごめんなさい。私がしなきゃいけなかったのは、あんたやサトシを助けることじゃなかった。あんたたちの幸せを、どんなことをしても、何を引き換えにしても守ってあげることだった。
分かってるんじゃない。分かってたんじゃない、あんたは。なのにあんたは何もしなかった。ミオンなのに、あんたがミオンなのに、私とサトシ君のために何もしなかったんだ。ごめんなさい。もういいです。そんな口先だけの謝罪、今さら聞きたくもないです。気が済みましたか。だったらとっとと帰ってお願いだから。
シオン、聞いて。私はケイちゃんが好き、大好き。
帰るって言っただろ。
だけど私、サトシが見つかるまでケイちゃんとは付き合わない。ずっと友達のままでいる。もう今日みたいに二人きりで出歩いたりしない。他に誰かと仲良くしても黙って見ている。
はあ？何ですかそれは。あんたの自己満足に付き合って。
だから一緒に探そう、サトシを。
What is this idiot saying?
おねえ、言ってる意味がわかりませんよ。なんでサトシ君を見つけるためにそんなわけのわからないことをするんですか。
だって私バカだもん。どうしようもないバカだもん。私だってサトシのこと探したい。どこに行ったのか確かめたい。でもこうでもしないとシオンの必死な思いに近づけない。だって私バカだから。シオンと同じ痛みをずっと持ち続けていないと、またどこかで妥協しちゃうもん。
Now that's some serious commitment, not gonna lie. Just then, Mion put her hands onto mine. I looked at her fingers. 3 of the fingernails on her left hand looked as ugly as mine.
ミオ、これはどうしたの。
Tears rolled down her cheeks. She didn't have to answer. She had the same scars as I did. She atoned as well. The way those wounds were healing looked the same as mine. So, did she get those wounds around the same time as I did?
シオンだけが爪を剥がされるなんてかわいそうすぎるんだもん。
The fingernail thing. That's right. That shit still makes me wince.
お願い。お願い、シオン。遅すぎるって分かってる。今更だって言われても仕方ない。けど、一緒に探させて。私、あんたのサトシへの思いと同じくらいケイちゃんが好き。だけど、サトシが見つかるまで、ずっとこの思いを閉じ込める。約束する。約束するから。
Idiot. You idiot. This girl, my one and only sister. Seriously, there's no use fighting it. There's no helping it. You're such a colossal moron! What are you saying? What are you apologizing for? Back then, Mion really, truly was doing her best for my sake. Even when I had my nails removed, even though it had nothing to do with her, she endured it alongside me, didn't she? Even so, she still wants to share the pain with me, once again. Think it through. Try hard to remember. Once more. The one who did something wrong was me, wasn't it? I was spoiled and unwilling to move, just holding a grudge and feeling hatred toward everything around me, and letting it fester.
本当は大好きなのよね。ミオンの。いえ、シオンのことが、とっても。
Would you just come out of hiding already, Hanyu?
Shion. 近所迷惑ですから。早く、中に入ってください。
I caught my breath when I found her curled up in the shadows by my feet. She was out here on the cold ground. She was kneeling her head on the floor, even though nobody was here to see it.
おね。
The tears came back, and they wouldn't stop. But why? The dark, heavy presence smoldering in my chest just a moment ago vanished, like it was purified, and my whole body felt light.
もう遅いですし、止まっていけばいいですよ。一緒に、ばあさんに怒られましょう。
I agree. Let's enrage Granny together, you and I.
シオン。
Without even thinking, we hugged each other. And then the two of us cried, and cried, and cried some more. If anyone around could see us, they couldn't help but think we were total fools. But even so, in the end, I couldn't help but love her.
とまあこういう感じでして。昨日は久々に2人一緒のベッドで寝ましたよ。
そっか。よかったな。
I felt deeply relieved to hear that things worked out.
で、せっかくだからってことで、実はついさっきまで一緒だったんですよ。2人して学校サボって、どうでもいい話で盛り上がっていました。
I'm relieved. Truly relieved. I was really concerned there for a minute that something bad ended up happening. Shion let out a weird laugh as she said that. And yet, she had a cheerful smile on her face, like an evil spirit that had just been exorcised from her, which told me that there was nothing nonsensical about her story.
それでまあ、自称未来の義理の妹としては、義理の兄にも幸せのお裾分けをと考えまして。
Well, unfortunately, we can't really be siblings-in-law until your boy toy is found. So for the sake of the future of the Maebara bloodline, I need to make sure that you can find your boy toy.
ただ、ここのデザートでその10日を求めると、これくらいの量でもほんのわずかばかりなんですけどね。
そのほんのわずかばかりを食い切れるかどうかは自信ないがな。
Shion, how exactly am I supposed to help you find Satoshi if I end up getting fattened up to such a point to where I can't move without a freaking pickup truck hauling me around everywhere? Nevertheless, it was more than enough to show me how happy Shion was. In which case, the only proper response is to take it like a man.
よし、俺もエンジェルモートの K と呼ばれた男。この程度のボリューム、すきっ腹にはなんてことないぜ。
Oh, your poor waistline.
ケイちゃんならそう言ってくれると思ってました。さあ、どんどん食べてください。追加オーダーもじゃんじゃん受けたまわりますよ。
You better make sure that you can afford all this, Keiichi.
いや、それはさすがに勘弁。そういえばさ、シオン。あの時高野さんからもらったスクラップ帳って、一体どんなやつなんだ？
And now we finally get to the scrapbook stuff. I asked about a topic I suddenly remembered while wolfing down a fourth parfait. At the time, I wasn't able to see much more than the cover before Mion intervened, but I remembered seeing all sorts of articles clipped to it. And by the way, Shion seemed to have thoroughly enjoyed her fill of the sweets, and was now savoring a coffee. How sly.
もらったんじゃないですよ。ちょっと貸してもらったんです。
After that, Shion said, "Wait a moment," then rushed over to the coat closet before returning. And in her hand was the very same scrapbook from that day. Convenient for you to have brought that to work with you.
私がHinamizawaの鬼隠しについて調べてるって言ったら、役に立つかもって貸してくれたんです。もっとも少し見てみたんですが、なんかオカルト色が強すぎてすぐに読むのをやめちゃいましたけどね。
Shion handed me a scrapbook and I examined the contents. Indeed, there were clippings from dubious articles all over the place that mentioned weird stuff like aliens.
We became human.
Huh?
I noticed something that stood out somewhere past the middle, and stopped flipping the pages. It was an article about people being demoned away in Hinamizawa.
これ、シオンも読んだのか？
ああ、読みましたよ。お姉と一緒に。お姉はよくもまあこれだけ嘘800をなんて笑ってましたけどね。
シオンはどう思う？鬼隠しについて。
ひょっとしてケイちゃん信じてるんですか？これって結構憶測と創作が入り混じったゴシップ記事ですよ。
Shion deeply laughed after saying that. Just like Mion, Shion didn't seem to believe the material at all.
まあ、園崎のことを疑っていた時にこれを読んだら結構本気にしていたかもしれませんけどね。昨日今日とお姉から話をいろいろ聞いているうちに気づいたんです。鬼隠しのたたりは実は一貫性がないってことに。
And what consistency have you found?
一貫性？
ええ、犠牲者が鬼隠しに遭う理由もだんだん曖昧になっていますし、そもそもダム工事にまつわって村の掟に逆らう人が対象となるなら、4年前現場監督を殺して行方不明になった作業員は？3年前の夫妻はともかく 2年前の神主の妻は？そして去年の主婦とサトシ君は？そう落ち着いて考えていくと、別にこの人たちは村に反抗的であったわけではないとすぐに分かっちゃいますから。それに
I repeated the word back at her like a parrot, while thinking about what she said. Shion shrugged her shoulders like she was a bit surprised, then shook her head several times and answered.
園崎家って実は何にもやってなかったんです。たたりを起こしたのでも防ごうとしたわけでもない。噂に怯えていたという点では私たちと同じでした。
C の言う通りなのです。
And I guess we're now reporting back to Rika. Hi, Rika. I've had a day.
園崎家、そしてお涼はいつも大したことをしていたわけではないのですよ。
Rika-chan confirmed that Shion's story was correct. Even though people accused Uryu Sonozaki of organizing the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson during the dam conflict 5 years ago, in reality she didn't have anything to do with it. But it massively intensified the opposition movement, and the power of the Sonozaki family was at its peak thanks to the huge campaign, so naturally they subtly implied the opposite.
じゃあHinamizawaの園崎家って
本当の意味で象徴でしかないのです。そしてそれは君吉家、古出家の他の御三家にも言えること。ただ村を一つにまとめ上げるために絶対的権威が必要だったので、3つの家はお社様という崇拝対象を作り上げて、関連した様々な事件をたたりとして扱いました。それがたくさんの人の畏怖と曲解を呼び寄せて、鬼隠しというものが出来上がったのです。
なんかそれって迷惑な話だよな。
Rika-chan smiled and said meep, then shrugged her shoulders to respond to my honest thoughts.
仕方がないのです。工事現場の監督は現場の人にも評判が悪かったので、口論から発展と想像できました。でも賛成派だった北条家夫妻の事故はあまりにも象徴的で、僕も最初は園崎が裏で動いているのではないかと疑ったこともあったのですよ。
でも園崎は何もしていなかった。それはリカちゃんも突き止めていたんだな。
Rika-chan remained silent and deeply nodded. Seeing her like that, I wondered if I should ask this. But I turned to her with determination and spoke up.
リカちゃんはご両親がなんで亡くなったのか知ってるのか？
それを聞いてどうしますか？
俺の勝手な推論だ。シオンはこの鬼隠しのたたりにあった人たちの事件に一貫性がないと言っていた。それは動機がみんなバラバラだからだと思うんだ。
The on-site manager 4 years ago was due to trouble with subordinates and supervisors. 3 years ago, the Houjou couple's accident was allegedly because they defied the villagers and agreed to the construction project. The housewife 1 year ago was murdered by a thrill-seeker trying to piggyback on the curse. The motives behind the murders actually weren't consistent at all. The one thing the murderers had in common was the victims being an enemy of the village. And with enough effort, you could reframe the housewife murder a year ago to seem like it benefited the village. But that only served to highlight just how different the incident was 2 years ago of Rika-chan's parents. There certainly was a reason they were targeted, but all the elements like the killer's motive were so unnatural and inexplicable that it was impossible to develop a profile of the culprit.
2年前の事件だけなぜか人為的な動機が見当たらなかった。 単なる病死でなければたたりによるものとしか説明がつかない。その結果、みんながたたりが本当に存在するのだと強く信じるようになった。つまりこの事件がきっかけとなって、それ以前に起こったものも含めた一連の事件が不可思議な現象に変わったんだと思う。
In other words, you could say that it was the precise moment the curse of Hinamizawa was born. Riki-chan still hadn't said yet if Mion Takano was responsible for her parents' murder, but it feels like the essence of his conspiracy is buried there.
すごいのです、ケイチ。
Riki-chan sighed as if she was impressed, then put on a bright smile.
なるほど、そこに行き着いたのですね。やっぱりケイチなのです。僕もそこまでは考えたこともありませんでした。
Riki-chan took a deep breath and got quiet for a while, like she was thinking something over. Then she looked up at the starry night sky and spoke in a voice completely devoid of emotion.
病死と言っても死でも、おそらくあなたも疑っている通り、たたりでないことは確かなのです。そして人為的な動機が垣間見えないのも無理はありません。犯人はたたりを隠れ蓑に利用したのですから。
たたりを利用した？その犯人ってやっぱり
みー、ここまでにしてくださいなのです。
Then, Riki-chan apologetically bowed her head. Honestly, I wanted to hear more, but I had faith she'd tell me someday, so I didn't say anything more.
それよりもケイチ、その高野が持っていたというスクラップ帳見せてほしいのです。
ああ、これだ。
I opened my bag and pulled out Takano's scrapbook, which Shion had loaned to me. Riki-chan took it and began randomly flipping through it, and her mood gradually soured as she did.
これをシーやレナ、そしてケイチに見せていたのですね。ようやくわかりました。
わかったって何が？
このスクラップ帳、これが全てのトラップだったのですよ。
どういう意味だ？
妄想は頭で描いている限りは妄想のままですが、どんなこじつけでも根拠が文章として示された途端、それは一つの理論となります。そして自分以外の人間が書いた文章は自分だけじゃないと共感を呼び、雑誌などの媒体はあり得ることとしての信憑性を高める。だから園崎家やひなみざわに疑いを持つ者がこれを読むと、自分の考えが妄想ではないと錯覚して、さらに疑ってしまうことになります。
人は見たい現実だけを見るってやつか。
Confirmation bias. I remembered something I read in a magazine somewhere in the past.
C はミーと和解したおかげでこのトラップに陥ることを逃れられました。危ないところだったのです。このまま進んでいたら C はきっと。
リカちゃん？
助かったのです、ケイチ。やはりあなたが仲間にいてくれて本当に良かったのですよ。
Honestly, I'm really glad that we managed to avert another crisis totally by accident. By the time I realized that problem was about to rear its ugly head, boom, the problem already resolved itself. Riki-chan had a bright smile on her face as she said that. I don't quite understand, but it seems like I did something to help her. That you did, Keiichi. That you did.
それにしてもさ、
何ですか、ケ ケイチ。
このスクラップ帳は高野さんが作ったって言ってたよな。だとしたら作った本人はなおのことをこれを事実みたいに信じ込んでるってことになるんじゃないか。まるでたたりをその目で見届けたいみたいに。
It was just a casual comment, but Rika-chan's eyes opened wide as soon as she heard it, and then she began quickly flipping through the scrapbook. Then, the moment Rika-chan opened a particular page, she caught her breath and tensed up like she was frozen solid.
どうしたんだリカちゃん。
ええ、殺すわ。女王感染者の死体が作戦の鍵なの。あなたはここから遠く離れた東京の地での醜い政治的勢力争いの具になるのよ。そして鬼ヶ淵村の伝説のピリオドとなる。
まさか高野はたたりを人為的に発生させて村人全員を殺す気なのですか？
Ding, 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 ding! I was completely stunned by what Rika-chan just said. The driving force behind a conspiracy to murder Rika-chan was to annihilate Hinamizawa. Well, they done it. They finally figured out the Big Bad's master plan. Now, what they gonna do with this information, though? That is the question. Which I'm sure they will start trying to formulate some kind of strategy over in the next episode, because I'm gonna go ahead and cut things off here. So, yeah, like I said, they finally figured out what Takano's objective is, so I'm gonna be a bit interested to see how exactly they're going to adapt their battle plans now that they know what their enemy's truly after. And it's definitely grand in scale, so they're gonna have to think of something big in turn in order to combat it. That much is obvious. So, I hope everybody who tuned in today enjoyed this latest episode of the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. If you did and you'd like to see more content from me, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you all next time. Take care.